Hello and welcome. I'm really glad you found your way here. Whether you put this on to help you fall asleep, you're looking for some insight, or you're just carving out a little quiet time for yourself today, either way, this is a good use of your time. You're not wasting it. You're not avoiding something important. Making time and space for yourself to think and just breathe for a little while is genuinely one of the most valuable things you can do for yourself. In order to get yourself ready, you don't have to do anything specific with your body right now. Get comfortable, whatever that looks like for you. If you want to close your eyes, great. If you'd rather just rest them softly somewhere, that works too. There's no wrong way to be here. I've got a few things that I want to talk about that's been on my mind. It's really about how we relate to ourselves, not in some abstract philosophical way, but in the very practical, everyday sense. How we handle what we feel, how honest we are with the people around us, how we protect our energy, and what it actually means to grow as a person. These things are connected. And I think once you start seeing those connections, something shifts. It gets a little easier to be yourself. And being yourself, it turns out, is one of the most restful things in the world. I want to first start by saying that I am no expert. I'm just a person who has a few thoughts and ideas in my mind. Many that I have come up with through my own personal experiences or from observing friends and family. These are just my own personal opinions. Whether you agree or disagree, it's all good. If you like, please feel free to leave a comment on this video. I would love to hear from you. With that out of the way, I want to start with something that might sound simple, but actually took me a long time to really feel in my body, not just understand in my head. The present moment is the only place where your problems don't have full access to you. I know that sounds a little abstract, so let me make it concrete. Most of the weight we carry isn't about what's actually happening right now. It's about what happened before and what might happen next. We replay old conversations, picking at things we should have said differently. We rehearse future ones, bracing for outcomes we can't control. We do this constantly, even when everything around us right now is genuinely fine. That's not a character flaw. That's just how brains work. Our minds are incredibly good at time travel. The problem is we spend so much time dwelling on the past that we miss out on the present, which is the only moment where anything can actually be done. The present moment doesn't ask anything of you that you can't handle. It literally can't, because it's only ever this breath, this second, this small slice of now. The weight we feel isn't from the present. It's from everything we're dragging along with us. Mindfulness, at its core, is just practicing coming back to now. Not because the past isn't real, or because the future doesn't matter, but because here is where your life is actually happening, right here. When you really land in it, even for a few seconds, there's this quiet sense of relief, like setting down a bag you didn't realize you'd been carrying. It doesn't solve anything, but it gives you a moment of genuine rest. And those moments add up. They start to change how you move through the world. So if your mind is active right now, that's fine. You don't need to silence it. Just notice it. Notice that you're thinking the way you might notice clouds moving. You're not the clouds. You are the sky watching them. Up next, I want to talk about a version of emotional maturity that gets sold to us that I think can be kind of harmful if there isn't alignment. It's the idea that a mature person is someone who doesn't get upset easily, someone who keeps a level head, who doesn't cry, who doesn't let things get to them, someone who's always steady, always measured, always in control. And there is something to that. Regulation does matter. Being able to pause before you react is a genuinely useful skill. But if we take that too far, we end up with people who are emotionally shut down and calling it strength. People who have learned to feel nothing, or at least to perform feeling nothing, and are suffering quietly because of it. Real emotional maturity is almost the opposite of that. It's actually being willing to feel things fully, without immediately trying to fix them, or explain them away, or judge yourself for having them. Here's something I find really grounding and continue to work on every day. Emotions aren't problems. They're information. When you feel angry, your anger is trying to tell you something. Usually it's that something you care about has been threatened. A boundary, a value, your sense of fairness, your dignity. When you feel sad, your sadness is pointing to something meaningful that's been lost. When you feel anxious, your anxiety is scanning for risk and trying to protect you. These aren't malfunctions. They're signals from a very intelligent system. The work of emotional maturity isn't to quiet those signals. It's to learn how to hear them clearly without the signal becoming the whole broadcast. To feel the anger without becoming the anger. To let the sadness move through you without deciding the sadness is a verdict about your life. There's a gap between feeling something and doing something, and emotional maturity lies within that gap. The wider you can make it, not through suppression, but through genuine awareness, the more agency you have over your own life. One thing that really helped me understand this was realizing that most emotional reactivity comes from emotions we haven't properly met yet. The reason we snap at someone we love is usually not about them. It's about something that's been accumulating, something we haven't given the space to just be felt. When we actually stop and sit with a feeling, even for a minute, it tends to lose some of its charge. Not all of it, but enough. So the practice is just this. When something comes up, before you respond, before you analyze, just feel it. Give it a second. Ask yourself where it lives in your body. Is there tightness? Heaviness? Heat? Just notice. You're not doing anything wrong by having the feeling. You're not weak. You're paying attention to yourself, which is the beginning of everything. Here's a question I want you to sit with. When was the last time you did something, a small thing, an everyday thing that was genuinely, purely just what you wanted? Not what you thought you should want, not what would look a certain way, not the answer that would keep everyone comfortable, just what you specifically actually wanted. For a lot of us, it takes a second to even find that. We've been so thoroughly trained to be legible to other people, to be the version of ourselves that's easiest to love, or least likely to cause friction, that we've lost track of who's actually underneath that. Authentic living doesn't mean you throw all social awareness out the window and do whatever you want with no regard for anyone else. It's more subtle than that. It's about closing the gap between who you actually are and who you present yourself to be. Not because pretending is always conscious or malicious. Often we don't even know we're doing it, but because that gap is tiring. It creates a kind of low-grade exhaustion that follows you everywhere. And most of us have been feeling it for so long, we think it's just what life feels like. The work of authentic living is quiet and ongoing. It shows up in small choices. It's the moment you say, actually, I disagree, instead of nodding. It's giving an honest answer when someone asks how you're doing rather than defaulting to fine. It's noticing when you're performing enthusiasm you don't feel, or minimizing things that actually matter to you, or laughing at something that made you uncomfortable. None of that is dramatic, but it compounds. And here's something interesting that happens when you start putting it into practice. Your relationships get better. Or, more accurately, the relationships that were real get deeper, and the ones that depended on you being a smaller, more palatable version of yourself start to feel strained. And that's useful information. The people who love the real you, even the complicated, uncertain, still figuring it out version, those are the people worth orienting your life around. The relationships where you have to shrink to fit, those are worth looking at honestly. This doesn't mean burning anything down. It means getting curious, asking yourself, who am I being here? Is it actually me? In my next thoughts, I want to talk about boundaries because I think they get a bad reputation. And also because the way they get talked about sometimes comes as assertive, almost a combative thing. It doesn't serve a lot of people. At their simplest, boundaries are just honesty. You being honest about what you can and can't do, what you need and don't need, what feels okay and what doesn't. They're not aggression. They're not cruelty. They're not a way of punishing people. They're just telling the truth. And the reason they're hard, the reason so many of us tie ourselves in knots avoiding them, is that we've learned somewhere along the way that taking up space is dangerous. That having needs makes us burdensome. That saying no, or not like that, or I need something different here, will cost us something important. A relationship, someone's approval, the image of ourselves as an easygoing, good person. That fear is real and it deserves compassion, but it also keeps us in a pattern where we give and give from a place of depletion rather than genuine generosity. And there's a big difference between those two things. Genuine generosity feels good. It comes from a place of fullness. You have something, you want to share it. It doesn't cost you your well-being. Depleted giving is the other thing. It's doing things out of guilt or fear. It's saying yes when everything in you is screaming no, because you're more afraid of the fallout than you are of the cost of saying yes. It's exhausting, and it produces resentment, which then feels awful, which produces more guilt, and the whole cycle spins. Boundaries interrupt that cycle. They're a way of saying, I matter in this equation too. My energy is finite, my needs are real, and I can only show up well for you if I'm also showing up for myself. That's not selfish. That's sustainable. And here's what people often don't say. Most of the people who genuinely love you will respect a boundary once they get used to it. There might be a moment of friction, disappointment, surprise, maybe some pushback. That doesn't mean you did something wrong. Change in a relationship always has a settling period. But a person who truly values you will adjust. They'll learn the new shape of things. The people who can't tolerate your boundaries at all, who escalate, or guilt trip, or make you feel like a monster for having needs, that's information too. Painful maybe, but important. Growth isn't linear, and I think that's worth saying out loud because we're surrounded by narratives that suggest it is. The idea that you wake up one day with a new understanding of yourself, and from that point, everything is different. That once you've done the work, you're done. It doesn't really work like that. Growth tends to look more like this. You learn something about yourself, and you're genuinely changed by it. And then 6 months later, you catch yourself doing the exact thing you thought you'd left behind. And instead of that being a catastrophic failure, it's just more information. You've grown enough to see it more clearly now. That's not regression, that's refinement. The emotionally growing person is not someone who has it figured out. They're someone who stays curious about themselves. Someone who can hold a belief or a pattern up to the light and genuinely ask, is this still true? Is this still who I want to be? That requires something really specific, which is the ability to be wrong without it destroying you. A lot of us have a really hard time with this. We've tied our sense of worth so closely to being right, to being the good person, the one who's doing it well, that being wrong feels like a threat to our whole identity. So we defend, or we minimize, or we find a way to make it someone else's fault. Not because we're bad people, but because the alternative feels unbearable. But here's what actually happens when you can say, I was wrong about that, or I handled that badly. It's freeing. The self-protection you've been pouring energy into just releases. And the relationship on the other side of that honesty usually deepens in ways that wouldn't have been possible otherwise. Emotional growth is also about expanding your capacity for nuance, learning to hold two true things at once, saying things like, I love this person, but this dynamic isn't good for me. I made a real mistake and I'm still a person of worth. I've come a long way and I still have so far to go. These aren't contradictions, they're the texture of a real life. Give yourself permission to still be on the way, not as an excuse to avoid the work, but as a genuine act of self-compassion. You are not a finished product. You're a person in process. That's not a flaw. That's being alive. I don't want to tie up his video too neatly because life isn't really like that. These things, presence, emotional maturity, authenticity, boundaries, and growth, they're not problems you solve once. They're practices. They're the ongoing texture of a life that's actually being lived rather than managed. But the through line in all of it is self-respect, not in the arrogant sense, in the quiet, structural sense. The kind that says, I am worth paying attention to. My inner life is worth tending. My needs are not footnotes in someone else's story. It sounds simple. For a lot of us, it takes years to actually believe it. And even when we do, we forget it regularly, and we have to come back to it. That's okay. That's the practice. You were drawn here because some part of you was looking for a little stillness, a little perspective, maybe permission to feel what you're feeling, or to take up a little more space, or to just rest without earning it first. I hope you found some of that here. And as you drift into sleep or carry this with you into whatever's next, I just want to say, you're doing better than you think. The fact that you're asking these questions, that you care about growing, that you're willing to sit with the uncomfortable stuff rather than just numb it, that matters. That's not nothing. That's actually a lot. So until the next video, take good care of yourself, and I'll see you again